Hi, I'm Adam from the Wellington Astronomical Society. In this video, we're going to be looking at the night sky for August 2026. As usual, we'll take a look at the moon phases and planets before moving on to a tour of the constellations and deep sky from Stellarium. Let's get started. The moon is going to start the month waning after the full moon in late July. We have last quarter on the 6th, then it'll be new on the 13th, giving the best opportunities for dark sky viewing, then back to first quarter on the 20th, and then full again on the 28th. Now, as usual, in the days following the new moon, watch for earth shine on the surface of the moon just after sunset, while the moon is a thin crescent in the western sky. Now, adding some excitement to that, on the 16th, which is probably the best of all days in the month to see earth shine, just after sunset, the moon and Venus will get within 4 full moon widths of each other as well. So here's what that would look like in binoculars. Now they'll be setting at 9 p.m, so don't miss it. There's also a solar and a lunar eclipse this month, but unfortunately they're only visible from Europe. We don't get to see them here in Aotearoa at all. But if you can wait a couple of years, then you're in for a real treat. Mark your calendars for the 22nd of July 2028 and try to find whatever excuse you can to be in either Queenstown or Dunedin on that date. More on that closer to the time. Anyway, let's move on to the planets. Now, for the whole month, Venus will be in the western sky after sunset. Here, we can see it making a triangle with 2 bright stars, Spica and Arcturus. Now it'll get slowly closer and closer to Spica until the end of the month. They'll have a super close encounter, which you'll be able to see easily in binoculars. At the beginning of the month, Saturn will be rising around 11:30 p.m. and that'll come back to about 9 p.m. by the end of the month, while Jupiter is hiding right behind the Sun and will not reappear until just before sunrise right at the end of the month. So not a good time to be looking for Jupiter. Finally, Mars makes a steady appearance throughout the month, rising at around 5 a.m. fairly consistently. If you like a bit of early morning astronomy, then check out the triangle of similar coloured objects with Mars, being Aldebaran and Betelgeuse, with a bonus appearance of the sliver of a moon. Now let's move on to the deep sky and stick with this view for a moment. So up here we have everyone's favourite small constellation, Matariki, otherwise known as the Pleiades or the Seven Sisters outside Aotearoa. That's now rising earlier and earlier, making it much easier to see in the morning sky than the day that we actually celebrate Matariki. So let's jump to 8 p.m. and take a look around. The first, most obvious feature is going to be the Milky Way stretching directly overhead. So this is the absolutely ideal time to see it. Let's see what the constellations are. So over in the east, we can see that the age of Aquarius is dawning, with Capricornus directly above it at opposition. Now these constellations are rather difficult to identify, so if you want to start ticking off the constellations from the zodiac, then I suggest starting with an easy one first. One of the easiest has got to be Scorpius with its hook tail and bright red star Antares. Now that's at its head, and at this time it's directly overhead. So look straight overhead at 8 p.m. towards the middle of the month, and if you can find Scorpius, then you should be able to find Libra, which is right next to it, although it's really not much more than just an irregular assortment of stars. So you really kind of have to use your imagination with that one. Now, while we're in that neighbourhood, let's follow back along Scorpius, all the way along to the tail, and then look closely at the surrounding area. Here we have a star cluster known as Ptolemy's cluster, which on a good night will fill the field of view in your binoculars with a tight grouping of dozens of bright stars. And again, it's almost directly overhead at this time. Still in the same area, let's look a little to the north and this is, coincidentally, by the bow of Sagittarius, we can see the Lagoon Nebula. Now in binoculars, you can see this under a dark sky as a kind of a hazy glow surrounding several bright stars. If you're looking for nebulae, it's probably one of the best ones to look for because it's one of the brightest in the night sky, and it's a favourite for astrophotographers at this time of year. That's what's behind me here. Finally, let's turn our attention to the southern area of the sky, because all our familiar targets are there, easily visible in binoculars. So let's start with the Southern Cross pointer stars here. And then we've got the cross itself, and then further along we have the Carina Nebula, another very bright nebula that you can see in binoculars, and then further around the large and small Magellanic Clouds. Now these are always visible year-round. They never set. In fact, they're also always up during the day as well. We just can't see them. Here, if you turn off the atmosphere and then we go to do a time warp, you can see that. Now there's a word that describes that. So these objects, if they never set and they just rotate around the south celestial pole, they are described as being circumpolar. They circumnavigate the pole continuously, never setting. Now because we're in Wellington here, at least, we're at 41 degrees south of the equator, then it means that anything within 41 degrees of the south celestial pole is never going to set. So see how many of these circumpolar targets you can catch in your binoculars during the month. Anyway, that's our night sky for August. Clear skies, happy stargazing, and as always, thanks for watching.